Good afternoon, everybody. It's Ace of Trades. Um, so it seems like the video, I had about a half-hour video that I recorded throughout the day, and I just played it to listen to it. It doesn't seem like it has any audio. So I'm not sure what happened there, and I've done a couple other test videos, 30 seconds or so, just to see, and they all have sound. So I'm not sure what happened with that video. So I'm going to be just kind of doing a brief review of what I talked about today in today's video. So let's get into it. So when we came in today, it was kind of like, I think I got in, what time is this? Probably right around the open. And I was saying that this is a hard channel to see, but if you went over to the larger time frame, which would have been over here at this time, um, let's just get rid of all these drawings. So where this is into today. So this is the channel you would see off there. If you were drawing that, it would be like this. So, you can kind of clearly see that there is a channel there on the higher time frame. It's a little bit because of all the static on 2000 tick, it's hard to see. There's really nothing here I would want to take. It's just chopping around. Remember, we're looking for clear price action. I don't like this because I don't like that there because it's just so thin. It's actually a one, two, three, third attempt. I'm not even sure if it's might view that whole thing as like one leg. And then you get this as a second leg, but you're in this range. You're underneath the EMA. You're right into it. So yeah, that's what I was saying. You can see there are two legs down there. They're kind of thin. I mean, there's not much separation between them. So you can see how you get these two legs down, but I would not go along there because of the EMA. It does kind of, depending on what your target was, it may have worked before it stops you out, but this does behave like a trend and attempts to push to a new high. It fails, and then we get this push down, and what I was looking for here, I was looking for two legs to get in on a trade. See this. So we had this push down, and what I liked is that this first leg comes up, it's rejecting the EMA. It's also testing this former support level. So you'll hear me talk about how um, when prices break through support or resistance, they will often flip those around and become, so the support in this case become resistance. And what I was looking for is I was looking for like a second leg up to eclipse this and give me a nice bar so I can get in with a second attempt down. You don't get anything. It ends on this ugly green bar, and then you just close in this red bar down here. It makes it push down to a new low, and then you start reversing. And I remember talking about, I always talk about these fake, I call them fake reversals. People will try to take, because that's what they're taught, and it's doesn't make any sense, and it'll often fail on you. But when you watch the chart lessons, he only picks the ones that win, so it looks like it wins all the time. But anyway, so you have a first attempt here, second attempt. This does fail, um, but if you draw this, let me get rid of this first. You would initially draw it like this, like that, and you can see that if you do that, you would be right inside. So if you took this, because that's what they're taught to do, he would probably say just go long on the engulfing bar, but that's a totally other animal that you don't ever want to mess with. Um, but if this continued to work, he would probably say it's okay to go long right there too. It does actually end up bailing you out, but the problem is you're going long right into this trend line, And we know that trends will break and then retest. And you never know when the trend is going to break. You never know if this is going to hold and keep working as a trend. The very short term, I call them STT, short term trends, those usually don't go very far um, before they break. So this breaks, it does, if you had your stop here, which is what they're taught to do, that would have saved you, but it's still not a good entry. So once you get through that, and there's another one later that is even, looks even better to try, but it fails, and I'll show you that one. So, you would draw then this, because this continues to push up, and it looks like it forms its own trend. That fits pretty nice. And then what happens is we get one leg down, and then we get a second leg down that kind of goes a little bit beyond that measured move. You get this really big bar, and I was saying I don't really care to go long all the way up here on this size of bar when the ATR is much smaller than that. So I was a little skeptical about that thing. This looks like likely a trend that's going to try to go for a new high. And then we get this higher low, and I skipped that, but I think it's probably, thinking about it again, it's probably a really good trade. This is the only trade of the day that I really cared for, kind of wished I would have had back. But remember, there's always another trade the next time. So, um, don't worry about those when you kind of hesitate. I think I hesitated because we got this kind of stack bar, three stacked bars right here. But when this pushed down, you got these two legs down, expecting a new high. And then when you got this, tried to push down here and closed higher, you're probably safe to go long right there. That is the only one today that I think I don't like. I don't like going long. Again, you're going along into a short-term trend there, but I don't like going along there. Then we push up, so I think you get, two measured legs up into this area. Starts pushing down. I was talking about how, this is not, actually, I forgot to mention that. Here's the overnight low. This is not really an overnight high. This is into the prior day's session, but it seemed like the only good place on the chart to put a area that might act as resistance because nothing else seemed to work. But I wouldn't really call it an overnight high, but it's the resistance at the end of yesterday. So you get this push down. It looks like, hey, maybe after these two legs up, we're outside of this high level. Maybe we'll start pushing down here, I said, and you could look to get a short. And then it just decides to hold this level. And right here, there was some news released about something in the Middle East, and so that caused the market to just skyrocket. It doesn't sound like it was good news to me, so I'm not sure why it decided to go up like that. But anyway, I was saying when the market just does that sort of thing, just there's this huge volume spike comes in, you just have to sit tight and wait until things calm down and see if you can find some structures that you can um, work with. So here you have this goes into a range. Um, Here you have, like, maybe you might view this as a failed breakout of this, or we'll just call it a breakout 'cause it's not failed until it actually fails, but it's a breakout of this range, which typically ranges, when the prices break out of them, they tend to snap back. The breakouts, most breakouts fail if it's only temporarily. The thing I didn't really like about it is everything is played out to this upside. Um, this is actually a measured first leg of a measured move that you'll see later. But so this whole leg up, this black leg is played out here. Anything you're gonna draw off here is played out. So I really didn't want to take that with the idea of fading this because everything else is pointing. The bigger contextual items are pointing. Maybe this is gonna come back down here and maybe at least test this level again. If you would have taken that, you would have got stopped out by a couple ticks or something, and then it goes up. So I don't like that's just a higher low in the middle of all this price action, and then we just keep pushing up. And so you just have to sit tight until something develops. like I said, everything is played out to the upside. So to just try to like get in on one of these corrections is not a good idea because you just never know when price is going to flip back around. Um, because you don't have any structures that you're trading off of. You would just be buying because you think it's going higher, which is you never just want to take something off intuition. And here it just can't get back to the AMA. It's just rockets higher. So here you got this. I mean, you got these two legs up. And then if you put this together after this correction, you have this leg, you get this leg. That does go ahead into a measured move. Um, and then you get this, and prices start to reverse off here, but you never just want to pick a top. And I wouldn't even, at this point, I wouldn't even take a lower high because of how bullish things are pushing up. You could get a lower high and get stopped in, and it could just keep going up um, the way that it's behaving right now, or I guess at that moment in time. But you can kind of see there's a parabola forming here. If you would just like be able to draw something right here, you can see how these swings keep getting more and more steeper and steeper. This shallow, it's a little bit steeper correction, and then you get this blow off top, so to speak, and I think that's the high of the day. But you don't ever really get any structure there to trade. Um, and I was saying at this point, we may be in a bullish day today, but I really need to see some sort of downward pressure play out before I can feel comfortable getting long again. So I said, well, you got this push down, this push to a new low, and then crept up here a little bit more, and then this went sideways. There's nothing to trade in here. And then this push down, and so you have these two legs here make up one leg, and you have this second leg down. It hits a measured move there, and then finally on a close, it hits it there. And then we start going back up, and at this point I said, okay, I'd be okay now that we have this play out to the downside. I'd be okay getting long again off a nice push up and a correction, but you don't get a good correction. It just kind of goes sideways, and then it goes up into a second leg. But you hit this measured move at this point, but you can't really, it's I, again, most of the time I'm going to wait on a lower high. There was my first trade this week, I did not, but you can't short into this trend line. So you'd be shorting right into that. You don't want to do that. Then we finally get a push down, and I was thinking this time, okay, um, maybe we can get a short here on a correction, but it doesn't. It just pushes back up to a new high, starts churning sideways, and then finally you get this push down. I was away from the desk at this point, probably about right here. I left for a little while. You get this first leg up, push down, and I'd be looking for a second leg up that eclipses this one at least and is maybe relatively similar in size because you don't want your second leg to turn to, you see how these are two legs? Boom, boom. Well, you don't want, like, this wouldn't be, so you have one leg down. You don't want to count that as a second leg because it's not really the same size as this one. You want something relative in size to this. Else it could do what it did here and just push down a little bit more. So that's what I was saying. When we get kind of this deal here, it falls from here. But I don't like that because you could always get trapped in here and it could push up. Be concerned about this corrective trend trying for a new high. So I don't like that there. Then we push down, just go sideways. Um, let's zoom in here a little bit more now. Okay. Go sideways. You get this. I said, maybe. Oh, so here's one of those quote unquote reversal patterns that people are taught, right? So this is downtrend. This is all played out to the downside, and here you're getting a first attempt, this micro first attempt. You can see how it ticks lower there. We push up, and we get this second attempt. Okay, this bar here. You can see how this bar here ticks lower. And what people are taught is go long right there because this is a reversal pattern. But again, you're inside this short-term trend line, and it doesn't even. And people are thinking, oh, I'm just gonna get long right here, and these guys they're gonna get these shorts are gonna get trapped, and they're gonna get their stops run, and I'm gonna get my scalp. Well, sorry to tell you, it didn't even stop them out before it stops you out because you have to be concerned about short-term trends breaking on you. And that's exactly what happened here. This trend broke at the wrong time for people who went long here, and you get basically a one leg of correction, two legs of correction. This is kind of aggressive. I said I probably wouldn't take that. Um, and then, depending on what you would go for here, you might get it before it stops you out. And then you're just getting a bunch of stacked bars. Um, you might see a guy put an arrow on his chart right here under this, but if people aren't producing broker statements and talking and giving you videos in real time, they're worthless, friends. They're worthless. So this one will probably get an arrow too as a higher low. You can just go long right there and blah blah blah. And so that pushes up, and then you get comes down to here. At this point, I draw this trend line and I say, but I'm not going to take this long here because these wider channels will often fail on you. Sometimes they'll work, but not enough to be profitable for you. And so this one does actually work. You get this really bullish higher low here, but you don't have much room to these highs. So I would skip that. And then I talked about how, once we lift off this area and start going higher, I'm okay with then looking at this as a wider trend because it held and it's behaving that way. So we get one leg of correction, push up, we get a second leg, but you get this bar here that's like it's just you want to get in down here. You want the leg to finish down here, not way up here, and you don't have much room to these highs either. So you want room to get out, and you like to get in as close to the lows as you can. It doesn't end up triggering, so you wouldn't have got stopped out there if you entered. What you would prefer is this: you get this leg, you get a second leg, and you would prefer to get like this bar as this bar down here closing, so you could get in there, and that would have been a decent trade. Then we go sideways here in this range, and we're basically into the close. So that's a bit, probably about half the time it took me to do the other video. I got this post-market one, but I pretty much went through it just as I did. My thought process was how I explained it to you as I was seeing things in real time. The only trade I really cared for all day was this guy right here. Um, you know, really thought hard about taking that and passed on it because of these stacked bars here. What I would have preferred to see was like, you know, um, this green bar, and then I would have preferred to not have this red bar here, and then see this make a higher low immediately with continuing green bars up. Um, but because this got stacked up here side by side, it really made me think about it for a while and just kind of decided I didn't like it enough. So anyway, been a pretty good week so far for trades. I mean, you know me, I take one, two. Um, you haven't seen me, I don't think, take more than two in a day. But um, typically my uh, methodology has been with the way things have been printing is to take one or two a week. And so I had two already this week, missed the third one yesterday, and then passed on this one. So it's been a pretty good week as far as getting opportunities to get trades. So tomorrow's Friday, and I'll be back to do it one more time. I'll see you then.